Shalom and good day all, this is Tehillim29 back again for another DC comic review, and in this DC comic review I'll be reviewing Action Comics, Detective Comics Batman, and last but not least Deathstroke Inc. I'll now get things prepared and set up to the first comic I'll be reviewing right now. So starting off, first things first, with the Detective Comics Batman, I do want to point out I will not be covering the backstory for this comic or the Action Comics of its backstory. So let's get in the first things first. Does this cover in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7.5. I will now move into the area of the art as we have a look around the beginning, middle and end, and also some of the things that are happening around in the story around those points. Now this is some of the art around the beginning, and this takes place in Trattoria in Gotham. And here we've got Bruce Wayne speaking with, I think it's Deb Donovan or something like that, or someone who's connected to Deb Donovan. As we start to move towards the middle of the story, we have Batman going to the Gotham Gazette and meeting up with one of the people who've been following a bit of a story of their own and getting some clues and information as to what Riddler is doing. And as we jump towards the end of this, we have Batman going in to try to save Darby Turner, who's also connected to one of the people in the story. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story. Did we get any comic references? No, we didn't. In the area of time, we only got tonight. Moving into the next area, being locations, we had Trattoria Gotham, which is somewhat a bit of a restaurant. We had Batman's garage, and last but not least, the Gotham Gazette. The cast of characters consisting of Des, I believe she was one of the journalists. We had, of course, Bruce, who was also Batman. We ended up meeting someone by the name of John Hope, I think it is, Urok. We also had Riddler, Darby Turner. We also had Talia show up, and someone by the name of, I think it's Rory. For the overall story, I gave it a 7 out of 10. It would have scored higher if it included like some of the additional details. So now it's time to move into the next story. Alright, jumping into the next one. First things first, does this cover in any way, shape or form relay anything that's happening in relation to the story? Sure enough it does, to which I give it a 7.5 out of 10. I'll now go to showing some of the internal art around the beginning, middle and end. I will not be covering the backstory, as I said before. So this is some of the art around the beginning, to which Superman has made his way into the Teacher's Citadel. And as you can see here, he's made his appearance. And yeah, someone ain't happy. As we start to move towards some art around the middle of the story, we actually learn of someone who is also called Enchantress, or an Enchantress, that is on Warworld, and As you can see here, there's something brewing there. And what's it actually brewing with? As we can see, we've got some people there. And what their place is in this story. I'll now jump towards the end. And as we start to jump towards the end of the story, we've got something very interesting happening here, involving these gemstones. And it looks like maybe someone behind them. And Superman speaking to one of the inhabitants on Warworld. So, for the art, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move in relation to the story. First things first, did we get any comic references to any of the previous issues? No, but I believe it's going to need some. Next area is time, to which we got none of. Next area is the location, to which we know is taking place on Warworld. And one of the places we ended up going into was an area called the Teacher's Citadel. Of course, the cast of characters consisting of Superman, Clark Kent, Mongol, a group called Orphan. We had Midnighter and someone by the name of Taros, spelled T-H-A-A-R-O-S, Taros. For the overall story rating, I gave it a 7.5 out of 10. Now it's time to move on to Deathstroke. So now it's time to finally move into Deathstroke Inc., issue 9. And starting off with first things first, in relation to the cover, do these covers in any way, shape or form connect to something that's happening inside of the story? Sure enough they do, to which I give the first one on the left hand side an 8 out of 10, and the one on the right hand side also an 8 out of 10. I'll now work on showing some of the internal art, which is used in connection to the story, and I'll get across some of the things that are happening story-wise. So here is some of the art around the beginning of the story, and as we can see here, we've got Deathstroke, who's actually gone to a doctor, and he went to this doctor to try to save Respawn. And of course Ravager is there, and sure enough he heads out and runs. As we slowly approach the middle of the story, we have Batman and Robin, Damian Wayne, encountering, of course, the fraudulent Respawn, which everyone already knows who it is. And of course that will be also seen in the review when it comes to the next Robin issue, which shows up on the channel for the Super Sons. Fortress of Attitude. As we start to move towards the end, we get a little bit of a fight between Ghostmaker and Deathstroke. And last but not least, up towards the end, to which we have Talia with Angel Breaker and also Mother Soul. So for the internal art, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Now it's time to jump in relation to the story rating. Did we get any comic references? No, but for something that has as many times like this, it needs comic references. The next area being time. To which I really do think it could use some time stamps in the story. The locations we went to were Nepal in Nanda Parbat. Lazarus Island was also brought up once again. The cast of characters consisting of Deathstroke, Respawn, to which we actually learn his fate, Ravager, Batman, Bruce Wayne, Damian Wayne, Robin, we had Batman Incorporated, we had Gambi, Talia, and Mother Soul. For this overall story rating, I gave it a 7 out of 10. Until then, let's keep it colourful and have yourself an awesome day.